Hey guys, I have been putting off making a video about Nirvana because there's just so much I can talk about. And just make a video and explain like what Nirvana Arthouse is, why I created it, the vision that it came from, like where it really came from for me, and just to give more clarity of like what I actually do. I have like a lot of people message me, and then people I know, like when they see me, they're like, oh, I'm really intrigued about what you're doing, but I actually like don't know what you do. Like I don't really get it. And I must admit, I like the kind of mystery around it, but obviously I need to give some clarity to it and explain what it is that I do. I'm gonna be creating like videos about it, and I haven't been able to sleep, and my like intuition and stuff is just saying to like make a podcast about things and about shadow work and all of the things and just about everything, and I'll go into that later. But I will be doing that, so yeah. Reluctance has come up because kind of like scared about how honest I am, so I feel like I'm gonna start talking and start like, I don't know what's gonna come out, but I definitely will have keep privacy about certain things and certain visions that are very sacred to me, but I thought I would share about where this came from and yeah, my total vision for it. Initially, and eventually, like the grand vision for Nirvana Arthouse is for it to be an organization. And I really was hesitant to like start, you know, diving into spiritual healing and stuff, because acting and music is my heart and will always be my heart. But the more I do this work, the more I realize it is an extension of my art. And that's why I didn't call it like Nirvana healing or Nirvana coaching or anything. It didn't resonate with me, and it just felt like clinical, and that's just not the vibe that I'm going for, because in the grand scheme of things, like I feel like Nirvana, like I want Nirvana to eventually be an organization, and that was the vision that I had for it. So I might just talk about how that kind of came about. If you're an artist, like you might resonate with, you know, hesitance to start things because you're like, okay, once my career is like rolling more, then I'll do that, like then I'll like save the world and like save the children and like donate and do all this stuff. But it's like I always think about with money, if you can't donate 10% of $10, you're not going to be able to donate $1 million when you have $10 million. So it's just been like this thing that's just been, yeah, in the back of my head for years, really. I have been in like the psychology coaching space for years, and my invitation into spirituality was really through my writing, through my poetry, through my art, through music, acting. Like I could say since I was 10, really diving deep into psychology and stuff. And if you're a writer, you can't really live on the surface. Like you're always just like digging deeper and digging deeper and digging deeper. So that was really like my invitation into the spiritual world. But that's like a whole like other like what I do, why I do it, and like where it started from. So long story short, 2018 I went through some traumatic shit, and I was like going back and forth from LA in New York and stuff, and like doing a bunch of stuff, and it was really cool. But like yeah, I was in like the worst place possible. And then I got back from New York, LA like September 2018, and I was like a real big mess. Yeah, I'm still deciding whether I'm going to talk about everything, so like we'll just figure it out along the way. But yeah, I was a mess, and it was just like terrible, like so terrible. I was so depressed. It led me into like a really deep healing journey, I guess. I was already kind of on it, but at this point, just for me to like stay mentally sane, like I developed like a routine just to stay like okay, and that was just like running 10k every day. I'd wake up at 5 a.m, I'd go to the gym, and then I'd come back and I'd like cry all day. I was reading hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books, and seeing every like type of healer, every psychologist, like everything under the sun. Like I tried everything. Sometimes I would have like 5 different things on, like 5 sessions like back to back, which now I know more about healing. Yeah, it was just a lot for my nervous system, a lot for my energy. I also went deep into studying stuff. I got like a bunch of my own qualifications around like intuitive eating and eating disorders, and neuro-linguistic programming and theta healing and Reiki and all this stuff. And I was so addicted to it. but I was super, super depressed. A lot of art was birthed from the time, I must admit. But yeah, it was so bad. I was literally sleeping in the guest room next to my parents' room because I didn't want to be in my room. Like it was, I mean, I guess you could say like PTSD kind of shit was coming up, and just like thoughts, and just like it was just like really bad. Like I had to like sleep in a room near people because my room's just like separate. Anyway, at the time I was kind of like living back and forth from LA. I'd be like 3 months here, 3 months there, 3 months here, 3 months there, and that was kind of like the thing. And I got to a point where I was like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing with all this pain? Like, I need to transmute it. At least I need to make some freaking art with it. And I hooked up with some producers and some writers and stuff whilst I was here. And then I booked a flight to LA for the next day. And my parents were like, yeah, let's go. Like, not let's go. My parents were like, yeah, go. And Dad helped me book the flight. And then really interesting because when I'm in LA, I'm healthily selfish with my time because I'm there to like get shit done, and I have a bit of like a lone wolf vibe. And I usually stay in West Hollywood because it's near all the acting schools and stuff. But I was really cool to be near the ocean, be in Venice Beach because I love Venice and I need the ocean, especially like in my time of like needing healing. And I never stay with people because yeah, like I need my own space. But I was really drawn to this like spiritual house, this co-living space, and that brought up so much healing for me, like so much. Like I really felt the importance and the impact like tribe and community had on me around like-minded people as well, because it was a house of entrepreneurs, health people, like health freaks, like personal trainers, like healers. Everyone was there and was just like driven. And I was like, oh my God, as soon as I got there, it's not like I was just like magically not depressed, but yeah, it was really cool because I would just go to the studio and I would have like 17-hour days in the studio, and that was so healing for me because I didn't have to force myself out of like my bad feelings. And that's this whole shadow thing that I'm going to be talking about. But yeah, so I went there, and I probably will do like a longer form podcast on this just because there's so much to it and so much I can go into it, but I'm kind of like keeping it like brief, I guess. I got there, yeah, I was pretty much like reading my journal to like my producer and developed like a really cool writing chemistry with him, and just we'd like make songs from that, and it was like amazing. I don't know if it was before or after, because this time I was in LA, it was in Venice, but there was another time, it might have been before. I'm not too sure. I stayed in this place in Hollywood near the Magic Castle, which I've never been to because it's like invitation only, but I stayed in this creepy haunted place, and it was called Nirvana. Like it was this like old Chinese building. It was called Nirvana. And I stayed there, and it was really weird because lots of, as soon as I stepped into like the studio apartment, I was like, ooh. And lots of like witches and wizards like lived there, like legit ones. Like I'd actually look at like the doors next to like my studio, and it was like wizard this and stuff, like I don't know, crazy shit. And I really liked the Nirvana thing. And then Tits Out for the Boys, the original version, we were creating, and we interpolated the Smells Like Teen Spirit Nirvana hook, which means like we didn't sample it, but like we just like made our own version of it. And that hasn't made the cut for the original because like I didn't get the rights or whatever. But that was like a Nirvana thing, all right? And then the shit I was going through, I need to backtrack. The year before, like a few months before, I was in New York for Fashion Week, and I went to this fashion show. And this is like so scattered, but this is just the way I'm gonna do stuff because this is the way I'm gonna do stuff. The year before, I went to New York for this fashion show, and I went to New York for Fashion Week, and I had a show at Bagatelle, New York, which was amazing, really, really cool. And I was like super freaking depressed at the time, like it was so bad. I was not enjoying myself, but I did go to this one show, and it was like really amazing, and I was so inspired by it. And it's this Indian brand called Arianyani, and it was really inspired by oneness and nature, and it was so spiritual and deep, especially for something that sometimes you can go to fashion shows and you think it's superficial, and it was just not. And it was just the coolest show I'd been to. After the show, I said to my manager, I want to meet that designer. And I met him, and like we really clicked, and like we still do, and I ended up having an amazing year-long brand deal with him. Literally the bags are painted in 24 karat gold, and I had a collection designed around dropkick as well. Like literally I've still got these bags, they're so beautiful, hand painted in 24 karat gold. Anyway, I was talking to him, and I was really inspired by, like, I wanted to create like Indian inspired music, and some of the teachings from like those Buddhist kind of like learnings and stuff, and Nirvana really is that. And I linked up with an Indian artist called Anushka Jag, who features on a track that I haven't released yet called Nirvana, and that's like all around what was happening at the time, and it just came back to Nirvana. Everything came back to Nirvana, this idea of shedding layers of your ego, and this death and rebirth and death and rebirth, and if you're constantly up leveling, you're having ego death. So that's like, yeah, Nirvana was just like there all the time. Anyway, yeah, this trip in LA, Nirvana was just in my head, and it really started off with a song, and I never intended to do like psychology as a thing. And it's like, so Nirvana was like really in my mind, and I had no intention of creating something called Nirvana back then. That it was just about a song, and my own spiritual stuff was about my spiritual journey. It wasn't really, even though I had done a lot of things around developing my psychic, like around my psychic development and things like that, it wasn't my intention. But I was living with this amazing healer, and I'm pretty sure his healing sessions were like $500 like a session or something. And he said to me, I would love to like give you a healing session in exchange for an acting lesson, because I've always wanted to have one. And at the time, I'm having so many downloads now around like the courses I want to create for artists, and like that's why I've called Nirvana Arthouse. Healer wanted to give me a healing in exchange for an acting lesson, and now I see why I did this, because I realized what I gave him was really like a spiritual healing acting session. I'll get into that, but it was really like shadow work for him, because I was like, I'm gonna like really have fun with this guy and test him, because he wants to like learn about acting, and he's like this super spiritual calm dude that like I've never seen him even raise his voice. So I found the most fucked up script with the most fucked up language, partially for my entertainment, but partially because I knew this would be healing a part of his shadow and parts of him that he represses. And it was so profound in the session. He was like, wow, like this is so healing. And he thought he was like being angry and rude, and I'm just like, no, like you need to go further. And this is like why I'm so passionate about Nirvana, why I'm so passionate about shadow work, because oh my god, like there's so much spiritual bypass around. I'm a spiritual person, like I don't show anger, like I don't positive vibes only, like no. Anyway, that's a whole other tangent that I'm so fucking passionate about. Anyway, that happened for him, which later on, now I'm having downloads for courses for artists and actors and stuff that I'm like, yes, yes, yes. Anyway, I had a healing with him, and without going into full detail, because it was definitely super personal and super sacred, and I don't like go around and tell everyone, because yeah, I like kind of keeping it my magic thing. But I'm gonna share some. I had this healing with him, and I went into my past lives. I went into my past lives where I was a fairy, where I was a mermaid, where I was in the 20s, and I had like this Gatsby kind of like lover. And then I went into my past life where I was a jungle girl, and I was like with my love, who's like this Tarzan kind of dude. And then I went into the bodies of every person in my family, like my brother, my two sisters, my mum and my dad. And it was really hectic. And at the time I thought I was seeing their current life, but I saw their past lives as well, which was really intense, and so much pain came up, so much pain. And it was like, I went through the bad shit first. I went through my family shit first, and the stuff that I was carrying that was theirs and not mine. And then I went into my past lives, and like, yeah, I like met the energy of like my old loves, and it was really insane, because I just so resonate with being a mermaid and a jungle girl, and like having this Tarzan kind of energy. And then I went into my present, and then I went into my future. And I get goosebumps when I think about it, because I saw a montage of me living my absolute vision, my absolute dream life, music, acting, everything involved. And I had like the, I guess, like commercial side of it. You'd see like I was playing shows as I was on in front of big crowds, like at Coachella and stuff. And it was this whole montage, like really, really quick, but it was like sinking into like my DNA, like into like, I don't know. And it was traveling, it was like jumping off things. It was adventurous, spontaneous, like diving into cliffs. And I had my like soulmate with me, and I only saw him what he looked like kind of once. And we were in Africa, and he was holding these big, and it's so real. Like there's nothing in me that was like, oh, that's just came off meditation. No, like I met him, and I know I sound crazy. I don't really care, because I just know it in me, in my soul. And he was carrying wood because we were building houses for orphanages in Africa. And it's just funny because I've always had a dream to do that since I was little. But you learn, like, when you're young, like, oh, you don't, like, you have to do that, like, when you have money, blah, blah, blah. It's like, even, like, why? Like, why can't you just do it now? Anywho, we were doing that, and he was really beautiful. And I saw the back of his hair, and it was, like, shaggy, and he was, like, a Tarzan kind of guy. But I'm not attached to the looks, because I know it was the energy, and he just had such beautiful energy. And it was really cool because we were both living out our visions and purpose together. And I've always been so like strong in my own vision that I'm like, I'm just gonna do it myself. Like, not that I'm like attached to doing it alone. I'm just like, okay, someone can come for the ride or not. But this was like, we were really like in union for our vision, and we were going around third world countries, and we had what now I see Nirvana will be, Nirvana Arthouse, an organization doing creative therapy, art therapy with kids in orphanages, healing with music, with sound, with acting, with art, and really using any success or impact in like the popular world and taking it out there. And it was really cool, and I saw all our life like flash. And I don't know, like I joke now that I'm like, yeah, like I know my soulmate's in Africa, because like I do. I don't know if he's there now, but like I guess we're going to be there in the future. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, it was like so real. Well, it is real. It was, yeah, fully. And it's not like I came out of it and I thought about Nirvana. I just felt the energy of what I'm supposed to be doing in this life, and how me doing music and acting comes from such a place of healing for myself and for others. Like I understand that people don't listen to music for them, to watch the person. Like you don't see a movie to watch the actor. You're seeing yourself in them, and it's making you feel something. You're connecting with them. And yeah, so I had this whole thing, and I was just like mind blown. And yeah, and that happened like a few years ago. And it wasn't until like I got the nudge to like start Nirvana, it was like a year later or something. And I didn't really make the full decision because I had fear around it taking up more energy than acting and music, and not being able to do it all at once. But that's like what I'm navigating now, and I'm like, okay, I can do it all at once. I don't have to wait until I'm successful in this area or that area to really like start this healing journey. So basically that's how Nirvana started. That's the grand vision for it. The reason it's an art house is because it's not catered just for artists, but I believe everyone is an artist, but it's not limited to coaching. So the offers that I'm going to be putting out are going to be for the poets, for the songwriters, for the musicians, for the artists, just for the visionaries, for people that need to heal their trauma and transmute it into something beautiful. Because like the stuff that I've gone through, which has been the most shameful ever, has been transmuted into art for me, and that's what I feel is really beautiful, and that's like what I'm really passionate about. And I'm really passionate about healing trauma. So for the basics of like what I do with clients and like in session, like I don't even like the word clients, like it feels weird to me. Like with my tribe, we do, and I'm not just like doing airy fairy shit. Like I've got like 1,000 qualifications in this shit. I'm like very embodied and passionate and educated in what I do as well. It's a science as well. Manifestation isn't just it's not airy fairy shit. It's like science, like it's energetic. So I do energy healing. We do a lot of it's all subconscious work. subconscious integration of parts of your shadow, inner child work, theta healing, Reiki energy, neurolinguistic programming, all the stuff. And yeah, so far I'm obsessed with it, and the growth that I am witnessing and holding space for, right? Because I'm not healing people, I'm just holding space, and they're empowering themselves to self-heal. And then hopefully, you know, because we all have these grand visions deep inside of us, and sometimes we don't even access them because there's too much trauma and conditioning around our belief systems in that being possible. So really, what I do is, and I'm really inspired by, I always say Run with the Wolves, because my favorite book in the world, which is a whole different other stories, Women Who Run with Wolves. And that's what I say. I'm like here to guide people to empower themselves to run with the wolves, and that means connect to their wild woman or wild man archetype and create what they want to create. And you won't even be able to see that if you've got so much trauma and you're not a clear vessel to receive and open up to the manifestations you want to call in your 3D reality. So that's why I do it. My grand vision is for people to be living their dream lives and feel empowered in even having dreams, because a lot of people just like don't have them anymore. So yeah, it starts with the deeper stuff. It starts with the shadow work. It starts with trauma clearing. And yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really blessed with the people that in my space. I'm really blessed for this myself, because I've got a numb leg. Every time I am with a client, it's healing a part of me, because I'm attracting old versions of myself. And yeah, it's just so deeply healing. And yeah, I just feel like there's so much magic in connecting to your inner child and owning every aspect of you unapologetically. Like, that is shadow work. It's integrating your shadow, the things that you've denied, the things that you've repressed, like the emotions that you don't allow yourself to feel. Like, I'm so passionate about every emotion that I just want that for everyone. And that's why acting and music and writing is like my purpose. I want to activate something within you. I want you to activate something within others. I'm just like, my foot's really numb, so I'm really sore. Yeah, and just like imagine a world where we were all just like so open to receive and so open to help and give from our overflow. And I'm really excited about what Nirvana will evolve into, because it has the purest of intentions, and I really see it. Oh, I've got pins and needles in my whole leg. Yeah, I had this real grand vision. Yeah, it's really vulnerable me sharing this as well, because I don't know, when I say it out loud, I'm like, how are you going to do that? But there's other things I've said out loud, and I didn't know how I was going to do it, and I made it happen. So here's here. And the cool thing is that I'm in the trenches with everyone. I'm not, like, I don't do this weird, like, clinical, I'm a coach, like I'm fully healed thing. Like, I'm totally not. But I like use it, and I transmute it into art, into something beautiful, and I love the dark sides and parts of me. And yeah, and that makes me embodied in what I teach, and makes me really passionate about this work. So basically, that is how Nirvana was really birthed, and like what it's about and what it's going to evolve into. I don't even want to do, like, I do want to do a podcast and a YouTube series on this, like, obviously I do, but part of me is like, far out, you're doing so much at the moment. But like, I just had to do it because lately it's just crazy. I haven't been able to sleep. Like, I've been going to bed at 5 a.m. because I've been creating this in my mind, and it obviously needs to be birthed. So I need to just start birthing it and just see in hindsight what the purpose of me sharing this was, because I'm sure there's something. Yeah, so that's kind of what's happening. I want to keep everyone updated on this vision of its evolvement, because at the moment, right now, it isn't a global organization. It's a healing and like trauma clearing and manifestation space. So yeah, let's just see how it evolves. Yeah, I'm really excited to share more with you guys, and yeah, I'm always open to having conversations about anything and everything. Like, this is what I'm super passionate about, and I'm actually really freaking proud of myself for being vulnerable in sharing my truth, because there was a long time when my throat chakra was really blocked of fear of judgment, of like my sacred kind of visions, and like they can be fragile when you share them. But I've done my shadow work around it, and I don't give a fuck because I'm unapologetic in what I want in this life. And I realize that people that aren't are going to project that onto you, and it's got nothing to do with me. If you are that, then heal your shadow. I invite you to step into that. Otherwise, yeah, thank you for listening, and I'm going to do an extended podcast on this and explain it more deeply, and I will just, yeah, pump out videos and podcasts as I please. I know my energy type, if you're aware of human design, is I'm a non-specific manifestor, so it feels better for my energy type to just like do 10 episodes in a day, and then like instead of like this weekly like systematic scheduled thing, like I just do it intuitively. I won't be able to sleep because I know I need to do something, and I won't be able to sleep until I do it. So I'm doing it. Okay, let's go. I'll keep you guys updated. That's what's happening at the moment. Yeah.